Can you move back?
Animals and humans have always had a pure connection. There are some things that animals just can't get themselves out of, and that's what humans are for. Whether it's a baby dolphin stuck in some plastic or bunnies under a house, humans will be there with their tools to save the day. Sometimes it's even the animals themselves that ask for help from the humans. Here are 30 times humans helped animals and got thanked in the cutest way. White serval gets a nose surgery. Here is poor Tonga, a white serval. His life was going great until a cancerous mass started to grow on his nose. No one from the employees noticed the cancerous mass, but one of the visitors did. And after that, the employees raised money for this poor little fellow. Tonga then had to go through a painful surgery to get the tumor removed, but he wasn't in pain anymore. And after that, Tonga would play with the employees more than usual. His way of thanking the staff couldn't be cuter. Flightless bird takes care of puppy as gratitude. Usually when birds lose their ability to fly, they die out in a few days since nature can be pretty cruel. Luckily, a kind couple rescued this pigeon, Herman, and gave it a home. The bird took some time adjusting but soon became grateful for being rescued by taking care of this little puppy. Herman was found in a parking lot staring and with a weird head tilt. The couple fed him and nursed him back to health. Rescue kangaroo insists on cuddling with dad. Kangaroos are usually solitary animals that like to spend time in the wild and roam the wilderness. But not this one. Rufus was rescued by this generous Australian family, but after the rescue he still didn't want to join the wilderness. That's why in the evening, he knocks on their door to let him in. When he sits on the couch like his dad and watches TV till he passes out, the family has reserved a seat for him on the couch. When everyone goes to bed, so does Rufus. Duck comes to man for protection during a big fire. One day, this man's barn was set on fire tragically, and this duck was roaming about nearby. The duck panicked and flew into this man's arms for some protection. After the fire was over, the man decided to adopt him forever since the ducky already had an injured wing from when he was young. Since then, this duo became inseparable, and every time its owner kisses him, the duck giggles out of excitement. Birds stick to their rescuer all the time. Birds can be really good pets, but rescued ones are even sweeter. This man saved a whole nest of baby chicks that could have died out of starvation if he didn't adopt them. The problem, which hardly seems like a problem here, is that they refuse to stay away from him. They're always sticking to him as if he's the nest. The best part is that he's the only one that can put them to sleep. Other than that, there does feeding them and even bathes them. When he's not around, they play with the other members of the family who love them just as much. Sperm whale asks for help from diver. Sperm whales might be huge, but they're not but gentle giants. They're very intelligent and social creatures, and this one swam all the way to a diver to ask him for help as there was a hook stuck inside its mouth. Most animals would run away at the sight of a human, but this one did the opposite. Even the diver didn't get scared and bravely took the hook out of its mouth. After that, it even stayed with the diver for a few head pats. Who knew such huge animals could be so soft-hearted? Diver frees whale from net and gets thanked with a dance. Oceanic creatures are the one that suffer the most due to human activities. The tiny ones get stuck in little plastic bits and the bigger ones get stuck in huge nets. Just like this poor whale who couldn't get itself out of this net. Luckily, a boat full of divers noticed and decided to help the poor guy out. One of them swam all the way to it and cut out every piece of net it was entangled in. Luckily, they succeeded in freeing him, and the whale's token of appreciation made it all worth it. They did a beautiful dance and flapped around to show everyone just how happy she was. Octopus pulls man into water gently. Sometimes rescuing animals doesn't mean saving them from a fire or surgically removing a hook. Sometimes it's just placing them back into the water that helps. Since humans like to spend time at the beach a lot, animal can get misplaced a lot. A young man noticed that a small little octopus was stranded out of water. He picked it up in a little cup and put it back where it belonged. The octopus took a few minutes to recover. After that, the octopus wanted the human to see its house and pulled at its feet to come into the water. Looks like he wanted the man to meet Ariel. Donkey runs back to owner after getting lost for months. Do you remember how scary it was to lose your mom at the grocery store? Well, this is exact how this poor donkey felt. He was separated from his family when a wildfire burst near his house. Baby Mango was lost for months, but the owner didn't lose hope. One lucky day they heard a familiar sound. It was Mango rushing back to them to greet his owner. He was so eager to meet his owner that he couldn't run fast enough. Beluga whale has a crush on her rescuer. Beluga whales are the cutest creatures ever, not only because of how adorable they are, but also because of how friendly they are. After this one was rescued, it developed a little crush on one of the employees. It would jump out of the water to kiss it. The cute little whale spends all day playing with just one employee. And even when there were other employees around, this one would just want to play with her crush. How adorable is this?
Oh, hi!
Rescued octopus came back to thank us. Helena and her family spent their holiday at the Red Sea. And one day, while walking on the beach, they saw a stranded octopus in the sand. They didn't know whether it was alive or not, but still pushed it back into the water. After a while, it recovered and simply swam away without any gestures. But the next day, Helena and her family were at the beach. They saw something in the water. It was the same octopus they had saved earlier. The smart fellow recognized his rescuers and wanted to thank them. Man frees a fox cub from a tin can. Fox cubs are really cute animals, but unfortunately, they're not the smartest. Somehow, this cub got stuck in a tin can. It was bought not as tiny as it thought it was and managed to get his head stuck in the can. The helpless little cub kept moving here and there, all confused, until a man saw the pup and decided to help. After some maneuvering, he was able to get the can off of him. The cub wanted to thank him so much, he just went near him and sat there for some head pats. Rescued kangaroo can't stop hugging the volunteers who saved her life. Kangaroos are pretty emotional creatures and remember people they're close to. This poor baby kangaroo was rescued from a wildfire by a few volunteers located in a sanctuary in Australia. It became so attached to them that it wouldn't stop hugging them. He was so thankful to be safe and happy that he didn't want to let go of her rescuers at all. The woman in the video is editor-in-chief Laura Brown for Style, and she wanted to show everyone just how adorable and soft-hearted even kangaroos can be. Team of rescuers save bunnies. Sometimes people don't give bunnies the same attention as they do to dogs and cats. This rescue team was called when a few neighbors found out that there was a whole family of bunnies stuck inside the house somewhere. After catching the parent rabbits, they had to find their little babies. But some of the bunnies were actually stuck deep under somewhere since rabbits like to sit down in burrows. The third bunny was so scared that it started to dig into another hole to escape. It took the team about 4 hours to get all the bunnies to safety. Luckily, when they got comfortable enough, they wouldn't leave their rescuer's side.
I got you, bunny, 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 bunny.
Dolphin stuck in plastic bag jumps to thank rescuer. Dolphins are one of the smartest creatures that live in the ocean, but sometimes they also need some help, especially when they're stuck in garbage like plastic bags. Thankfully, a fisherman was roaming the seas at the time. When he noticed that the dolphin was struggling to swim, he stopped his boat near it and took a closer look. After pulling it out of the water and cutting it free, he simply put the baby dolphin back into the water. But the dolphin was so happy it couldn't stop jumping up and down in the water to show its gratitude. Owl treated back to health couldn't stop hugging her rescuers. Owls tend to live alone, which can make it harder to treat them with an illness. This one even had a massive concussion and was full of parasites. Moreover, it also had a condition similar to pneumonia. Gigi lost about 2 pounds because of her illness. But when a rescuer team reached out to this poor creature, she was treated so well that Gigi started to trust the staff easily. She would eat her own food and gain back her weight. She was so happy and wanted to show her happiness, so she wouldn't stop hugging her rescuers. Pigeon wouldn't leave autistic woman after she saves her life. Ash, an autistic woman, spotted a helpless little baby pigeon on the ground, and she was afraid it might get run over by something since there were horses around, so she decided to take it in. Her original plan was to nurse it back to health. However, when she released him into the wild, he just came back again and again. The best part is, Ash had always had a special connection with animals, but this one just felt different. Dolphin released to sea comes back to zookeepers. A lot of us know that SeaWorld is the best place for aquatic creatures to live, so these zookeepers decided to let these dolphins back into the ocean. They had to be trained to go back into the wild. As Fitz, it seemed like they were learning, but slowly they started to catch their own prey. Even after training, the dolphins would come back to the zookeepers to say hi and thank them. How adorable. Sloth saved from a busy road. Crossing a busy road is a very terrifying moment for both humans and animals, but it's even more terrifying for the world's slowest animal. This sloth was found in the middle of the road trying so hard to cross over the other side during rush hour. Luckily for this sloth, the man was kind enough to rescue it from the high possibility of being run over by a car. He got out of his car, picked up the sloth, and quickly crossed the road and reunited the sloth with its natural habitat, a tree. This has got to be the fastest that this sloth has ever moved. Once it was safely clutching around the tree trunk, the man waved to the sloth goodbye. Surprisingly, the sloth turned its head and lifted its hand and gave him the world's slowest and sweetest wave. Lion saved from traveling circus. Yes, the king of the jungle may need your help from time to time. Juniper, the lion, was from a traveling circus where he was unfortunately abused and also suffered from severe malnutrition. His rescuer was Ana Julia Torres, who saw it fit that the lion be placed in a zoo where he'd be fed and cared for. Years later, Ana went to the zoo to see Juniper. Surprisingly, Juniper remembered Ana and couldn't contain his joy. He jumped up and put his forelimbs around her and pulled her closer to give her the biggest hug. Squirrels saved from owl. In 2009, Brantley Harrison and her family came across a squirrel that had been attacked by an owl. Surviving the attack only meant that the squirrel had been left with serious injuries. Brantley took it upon herself to feed and nurse the squirrel back to health. 5 months later, Brantley released the squirrel, which she named Bella, back to the wild. To show her gratitude for all the kindness she had received from Brantley's family, Bella kept visiting the family for 8 years. How cute is that? Orphan gorilla. There are only a handful of people in the world who have the privilege of hanging out with gorillas. One of those people is Patrick Karabaranga. Patrick is a warden at Virunga National Park in Congo. He showed compassion to an adolescent gorilla when it needed it most. He met the gorilla just when his parents had been shot dead by poachers. Together they formed one of the most adorable and unbreakable bonds there is. Patrick's reward is that he gets to hang out and play with the orphan gorilla and a bunch of others. They even take selfies together. Who wouldn't want that? Benji the bobcat. You've got to agree with me that kids have the warmest hearts. They're known at doing the unthinkable, throwing caution to the wind when it comes to helping others. That's exactly what happened here. Benji the bobcat was rescued by the little boy during the wildfires that happened in western US. Imagine the shock of his parents. He showed up on the front door with an injured bobcat. Gladly, they let him keep it and care for him. And this little boy gets to hear the purrs and experience the snuggles of a happy bobcat. Poppy gets a home. Every human would appreciate a little waggle on a dog's tail, but this only comes when a dog is happy. This cute puppy was found all alone lying next to the body of his mom who had been run over by a vehicle. We can't bring ourselves to imagine what he felt at that moment. Luckily, 2 people were able to rescue it after a long struggle. The poor puppy was so scared and just wanted to keep his head against the wall. Even feeding him was an uphill task. Luckily, his rescuers didn't give up on him. They even socialized him, and he can finally waggle his tail in excitement. Swan stuck in a fence. Swans look very graceful, but believe me, they are better off left alone. An inch closer to their territory will only cause them to come running, ready to attack.
Ooh.
Richard Wise was on about filming his show at the Abbotsbury Swanery when he noticed a swan that had gotten itself stuck in a chain link fence. Without taking a second thought, he freed the swan from the fence. The swan then jumped into Richard's arms. Now, usually you'd expect the swan to attack, but it didn't. Instead, it wrapped its long neck around Richard's neck. Years later, Richard visited the same spot, and shockingly, the swan recognized him and rushed to embrace him. Magnetic penguin saved from oil. In 2011, Dindin, the magnetic penguin, waddled his way into João Pereira de Souza's backyard, which opens up to a beach in Brazil. Dindin was young, covered in oil, and on the brink of dying. The old retired mason wasn't going to let Dindin die. He washed the oil off of his body and even gave it sardines for a couple of days. When Dindin had recovered, João released him back to the sea. He didn't want to leave. He came back and extended his stay until he was ready to leave on its own. Every single year since then, it's said that Dindin swims 5,000 miles just to pay his debt of gratitude. The reunion is to die for. Jimbo the bear. Jimbo the bear is over 20-year-old grizzly bear that has been under the care of Orphan Wildlife Center in New York. This is thanks to Jim and his wife who rescued Jimbo when he was still a tiny cub. And because of this simple act of kindness, the couple got to play with Jimbo, an experience that many only wish they had. They also get to have the biggest bear hugs. Hugging a stuffed teddy bear was nothing on this. Deer rescued from hunters. While some people like deer meat so much that they actively hunt them, others are all about preservation of wildlife, such as Kavam, the elderly woman in Norway, that successfully rescued a deer from hunters. Flippin' the Stag had a way of saying thank you to the woman. He showed up to her window every day. Not once, but twice a day. For a lonely old lady, Kavam doesn't mind Flippin's company at all. Flippin' the deer would sometimes sit outside her house until she woke up. He would only leave once he's had some pets and bread. That's a wrap for 30 times humans helped animals and got thanked in the cutest way. Comment down below which one warmed your heart the most. And don't forget to like the video, subscribe to Forever Green, and we'll see you in the next one.